Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing great. Joe Barton here, along with world traveler Dr. Scott Saunders, who's changed his Zoom background to make it look like he's in a tropical location, as well as Leslie here, man in the control center. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining us. This is the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. And today is a beautiful day, although it is a little bit gray skies out here in South Dakota, but that's okay. This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it, even if I'm not in the sunshine, in the tropical sunny, wherever you are, Dr. Saunders.
I want to know how we got the sound effects to go with
Yeah, that is fancy.
That must be the update to Zoom. I haven't got that yet.
Yeah, you just get one of those wave machines. That works.
Yes.
That's what it is. That looks really realistic. Like, you got to hand it to Zoom to make that look, you know, like you're there. So, well, hi everybody. We got people still climbing on board here on the Barton webinar ship. Welcome aboard. No masks required here. Keep your masks in your car and enjoy this next hour. We're going to be talking about how to fix type 2 and blood sugar and all the good stuff. We're also going to be talking about the importance of having a healthy gut, healthy digestion. And we're also going to take your questions like we do every week. And Dr. Saunders will be answering those, unless you'd prefer that I answer them for you with a non-medical background, but that would probably not be the best situation. I know enough to be dangerous. So, all right, tell us where you're calling in from, and if you're on Zoom, put something in the chat like, hey, tell us how you're celebrating Thanksgiving this week. I am hosting my own immediate family right here in South Dakota. My boys will all be home, and my wife will be excited to be hosting our first Thanksgiving in our newly redecorated dining room, which is quite interesting. It's got some really interesting wallpaper. I think, Leslie, you may have seen it. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I feel like you should post a picture at some point because it is so cool.
Yeah, I'll have to get a Thanksgiving picture of the fam in a couple days here. So, all right, yeah.
I love what Grace said. Grace said she's breaking all the governor's rules for Thanksgiving. Yeah, me too.
Go Grace. Yeah, I don't think any of those, mandates are going to be enforced. They say like you could be fined $1,000 and put in jail for 90 days, but really, like, you really go to grandma's house and they're going to, how are they going to police that? So I don't know. I'm probably in trouble right now. I probably got spies on the call. I might be, hauled off in handcuffs here, but,
Probably be okay to talk about our disclaimer at this point as well.
Oh, yes, please. Leslie, share that, would you?
My disclaimer is pretty vague. We are just giving our thoughts here. This is not medical advice. Make sure that you seek your doctor for advice. Although we do have a doctor on the webinar, so I feel like
But he's not their doctor.
But it's not their doctor.
Yes.
Right, because I'm giving general information for just like generally this is the way it works, but it doesn't apply to every individual exactly in that way. So that's why you have to work with your own doctor.
Right.
Yes. Yep, everyone's different. Okay, well, hey, let's get going here. First and foremost, a little bit more housekeeping. If you go to bartonwebinar.com, if you're watching the recording or whatever later, go to bartonwebinar.com and register so you can join us live every Tuesday at noon Central Time. You can get your own questions answered, and we're here to help you on your journey to reversing type 2. So, yeah. Let's get started. Let's talk about the basics. Here we go, the Diabetes Solution Kit. Dr. Saunders, what are the basics of reversing type 2?
Okay, so actually, for those of you who haven't been on our program before, we like to go through this again and again because, when I went through it again and again, I pick up little things here and there and go, oh, that's how that works and that's why that works. So, let's start with what is diabetes. And the word diabetes just means peeing too much. And so that's where it came from. And at first there were two different kinds, and that was diabetes mellitus, which means sweet diabetes, and then there was diabetes insipidus, which means bland diabetes. And so if you're peeing too much, how did the doctor know if you had sweet diabetes or bland diabetes? Well, the doctor actually would taste the urine and go, yep, it's sweet. You have diabetes mellitus. Mellitus is the same word. It comes from miel, which is honey. So that, or sweet, the sweet taste. So then they were, because they're totally different illnesses. One is a problem with the pancreas. The other one's a problem with the pituitary gland. So, and they're completely unrelated. So then after many years, another type of diabetes was shown, and it was seen that you can divide diabetes into two different kinds of diabetes mellitus. So the sweet diabetes, the sugar diabetes, could be divided into two. And one was where the pancreas didn't make any insulin. So if the pancreas doesn't make insulin, you can't get sugar or amino acids into your cells to make new cells, or to make proteins and to make energy. And so people with that type of diabetes literally starved to death no matter how much they ate, because insulin is required to get that sugar into the cells. So they were starving, they were getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier until they'd starved to death. Until insulin was discovered, and then they go, wow, we can take the insulin out of pigs and give it to people, and they don't have diabetes anymore, and they can function normally, and their cells can get sugar and energy and everything into them. Well, then there was this other kind of diabetes, and it was kind of weird because the pancreas worked just fine. In fact, they found the insulin, they started measuring insulin. They go, wow, this other type of diabetes, they have high insulin levels. What the heck? That doesn't make any sense, until they realized that that kind of diabetes is a resistance to insulin. So there's enough insulin. It's just that the body has become resistant to it, so it doesn't work. The pancreas is making insulin, it just doesn't work. So those are the two different types of sugar diabetes. Now, if you have type 1 diabetes, if you're on this program and listening to this and you're going, oh, I'm going to reverse my type 1 diabetes, I'm not saying that's impossible. I've done it with several people who had autoimmune diabetes, but you have to work on a totally different level. You have to work on getting rid of the autoimmunity, getting the pancreas to function again. It's a totally different program. We're talking about type 2 diabetes. Type 2 is where your pancreas makes a bunch of insulin, you're just resistant to it, so it doesn't work. So why does that happen? Why do you become resistant to it? Well, there's a simple, easy way to look at it. And that is, we've used this analogy before. I didn't make it up. I actually read it somewhere else, and it's a really good way to think about it. So the way doctors have looked at this is the sugar is spilling into the urine, and they got all this sugar in the urine, and what they want to do is stop the urine from having sugar. So what they do is start cleaning up the urine. And it's kind of like, let's say you had a clogged sink and the water's on, and the sink is filling up and filling up and filling up and filling up, and you're getting more and more water into it. And then you're going like, all of a sudden it starts spilling over. So the water is spilling onto the floor, and you're going, oh no, the floor is all wet. So you start mopping up the floor, and you're wringing out the mop and mopping up the floor and wringing out the mop, and the water keeps coming, and you keep mopping and mopping. At what point do you have to stop mopping? Well, never. You just have to keep mopping because the water is still spilling over onto the floor from the sink. So what's the best way to get the floor dry? Well, it's simple. Turn off the water. And when you turn off the water, then number 2, unclog the sink. And so that's what we do in the diabetes reversal program, or the diabetes solution kit, is when you take each step of that, one of them is to turn off the water. That's the first thing you do. That's called phase 1. And then over time, what that does is unclog the sink so that you become sensitive to the insulin, and your cells can bring insulin in I'm gonna use insulin to get sugar in again, and then things start functioning normally. So the program is actually really simple, and if you think of it conceptually, it's like turn off the water. Oh, that's very logical. And what is the analogy there? Well, if you turn off the sugar, if you're not eating sugar, taking it in, then it's not going to spill into the urine anymore. And if you don't happen to have sugar in your urine, but you have high blood sugar, that's the same thing. That's essentially what we're talking about. The blood sugar is high. So when your regular doctor says, well, there's nothing you can do about that, you have to look at it from their point of view. The doctor's point of view is, we're going to mop up the floor. We're going to keep mopping the floor. We're just going to keep mopping and mopping. And when that doesn't work, we're going to give you a bigger mop. And then when that doesn't work, we're going to give you 2 mops, and then 3 mops, and then 4 mops. And we're going to keep on mopping, and we're just going to add mops on to keep cleaning up the floor. So when you look at it from that point of view, if you just keep trying to keep the sugar out of the urine, or the high sugar in the blood to bring it down, then
Where did he go? Hello, everyone. Dr. Saunders is momentarily
spilling
paused.
anymore.
Oh, there he goes. We lost you for about 15 seconds there, Dr. Saunders.
Ah, darn. Okay.
The mops, multiple mops.
So the mops are okay. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So the mops are the medications that you're given. So you might be given 2 medications or 3 medications. And some people they even give them insulin, which is a huge mop. But sometimes that doesn't work because you're insulin resistant. So the way this has to work is you have to stop the flow of sugar into your system. And that's what the Diabetes Solution Kit is all about. It's how to stop the flow into your blood, so it doesn't create high blood sugar anymore. And then you go into phase 2 of the program, which by the time you've unclogged the sink, now you can turn on the faucet a little bit, and guess what? It drains. And it's like, cool, it's working. And but if you turn it on too much, the sink will clog up again, and then it comes back. So that phase 2 is I can eat this, I can eat that, and I can turn on the sink this much, but I can't turn it on that much. Or in some cases, one of the things that we discuss is how you can turn it on full blast, and when it starts filling up too much, you turn it off completely, and you go back on the phase 1, or do a fasting program to get it back down again. So there are various ways of doing it, but the point is to get the blood sugar down, to stop taking in the sugar. That's the best thing.
All right. Well, good. Well, we heard most of that. You cut out a little bit again, and your video is currently frozen, but I think we've got the audio good. So yeah, basically just talking about getting rid of. Oh, now we lost him, but we can kind of summarize what he talked about. And it's, phase 1 of the program of diabetes, the diabetes reversal program inside of the Diabetes Solution Kit, is getting down to 20 grams of carbohydrates per day. And there's a couple other things that we talked about in addition to that. Like if you really want to fast track your progress, you stop eating by 6 o'clock at night so that you can go to bed on an empty stomach at 10 o'clock at night, which is something that Dr. Saunders has talked a lot about in the past. And what that does is it allows your body to fully repair itself from the day's activities. So you go into an anabolic state as opposed to a catabolic state, So at 10 o'clock, no matter where you live, that is when your body has like a 15-minute window where you're producing human growth hormone, HGH. And that hormone is what works to repair damage that's been done throughout the day. And so we talk about the 6-10 reset in addition to the 20 grams of carbs per day. So those two things are like some of the key things that you can use that you'll experience fast results, I would say. And again, it's turning up, turning down. You're muted, Dr. Saunders. So yeah, really turning off the water supply, like we talked about, the pipes. Too much.
I can't hear Joe.
Too much going on. You can't hear me?
All right, baby. Way to go.
So Dr. Saunders is on a family vacation with his family. So can you hear us now, Dr. Saunders?
Yeah, I got you. We're good.
Okay, good. All right. So I was just talking a little bit about the 6-10 reset program concept, and also the 20 grams of carbs in phase 1. So, yeah.
Okay. And you know what? That works so well. So I talked about type 1 diabetes, where you have your pancreas isn't making any insulin. And I said that this program isn't going to fix that diabetes issue. There's other ways. If there's any way, there's other ways to do it. However, this program actually works for even type 1 diabetes, to prevent insulin resistance, which is a common problem in people with even type 1 diabetes. So you inject less insulin, you need less insulin to provide all the energy that you need for your body. So even while you have type 1 diabetes, this program will benefit you. Even though it won't reverse it, it will benefit you.
Okay, that's good to know. I think, I would say 90 to 95% of our customers probably have type 2 diabetes for the most part. That's what we talk about the most, but it's great to hear about type 1 also helping with that. I didn't realize that people with type 1 can also have insulin resistance. So that's news to me.
Yeah, we had several questions before that came up with, what if I have type 1 diabetes, or can you have type 1 and type 2? And the answer is yes, and it can go both ways. You can start out with type 1 and develop insulin resistance from injecting too much insulin over time. Not more than you need, but increasing your need for insulin over time, becoming more resistant to it. Because there's another issue there with type 1 diabetes, and that's injecting insulin causes you to make antibodies against the insulin that you're injecting. Because remember, you're not getting exactly the same like your own insulin. It's a pork or there is humulin now, actually. But you can make antibodies against the insulin you're injecting and then get insulin resistance from the antibodies. So there are various ways of getting insulin resistance. And so you can have type 1 and type 2 at the same time.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about digestion. So I have a little story. I went to the chiropractor. I have a chiropractor that is basically like a functional doctor that looks to treat the root cause, and she does muscle testing and different things like that. And she found that I was having some digestive problems, and it stems back, for me, it was a surgery that I had, or multiple surgeries I had as a baby. There's some scar tissue that was affecting digestion still. Anyways, she put me on some a product, I think it's called LipoFlow, which helps with fat metabolism, and then a GI product, plus my own, of course, healthy gut support, probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes. But I did that for a month, and without changing anything else in my diet, I lost 3 pounds of fat and I gained 4 pounds of muscle. And she was talking about how it just changes at a cellular level, how your body processes, I can't remember, something to do with ATP and metabolism and blood sugar control. And so I thought it'd be good and interesting to talk about that, because you know, CinnaChroma is our best-selling blood sugar support formula, which has got vitamin D, vitamin K, selenium, vanadium, cinnamon bark, and chromium, which is great. And almost everybody, whether you have blood sugar issues or not, needs this. And Dr. Saunders formulated this and recommends it to everybody. But this healthy gut support is, you know, very important to like the digestion part of metabolism. So I was fascinated personally, but I thought it'd be good to talk about that today. Dr. Saunders, if you could talk about how healthy digestion, like, you know, works along with reversing type 2 and how that can be, you know, a problem or maybe an obstacle or a block for people if they're not having success. Could you talk about that?
Okay, so first of all, your program that included the supplements to improve your gut function. You gained 1 pound, so you lost 3 and gained 4. So that's a net gain of 1 pound.
Right.
So you gain weight on it. No, but the function of the intestines is so important. It's like primary importance for any healing that you're going to have. If you don't have good nutrient absorption from your intestines, then you're not going to be able to heal well. You have to be able to get these nutrients into your body, or they don't work. Now, it's really easy to get sugar in the body. The intestines absorb sugar really well, readily, easily, because you need that a lot. But some other nutrients, they compete for absorption. If you're taking a lot of calcium, for example, then you're not going to be getting magnesium. And magnesium is very important for diabetes. If you don't have magnesium, then the insulin you have doesn't work. Even if you're injecting insulin or your pancreas is making insulin, you actually can become insulin resistant. And there are studies to show that you can become insulin resistant just from a magnesium deficiency and for no other reason. They took people that didn't have insulin resistance, and they put them on a low magnesium. They put half of them on a low magnesium diet. The other half just continued on as they were. And the ones with the low magnesium diet over time became more and more insulin resistant. So if your gut isn't absorbing that magnesium, then it's not going to work. And so people are taking calcium pills going, oh, I got to prevent osteoporosis. And so they're popping calcium with every meal or something. And the calcium overwhelms the absorption of magnesium. And so they may have magnesium in their food, but they can still become deficient. And then I had one other case. This is a weird case, but it happens. If your gut isn't able to absorb it because you've been taking it for so long. So I had somebody that had bowel problems. She had chronic constipation. And because she was constipated all the time, she would take large doses of magnesium every day to create diarrhea, essentially. She would get loose stools all the time from having that extra magnesium. You know, milk of magnesia, mag citrate, the bottles, all of that. Those are laxatives, right? And the reason they're laxative is just because it's so much magnesium you can't absorb it, and all of that leftover goes into your large intestine and goes, oh man, the large intestine can't use it either, and it just gets rid of it. So that's how it works as a laxative. Well, if you're taking that much magnesium every day, then your gut, your intestines have less and less ability to absorb it. They actually lose the ability to absorb it because there's just too much of it. And that's the way all biological systems work. They downregulate the receptors for anything that there's too much of. So I had one woman who was deficient in magnesium because she was taking this high dose of magnesium all the time. She couldn't absorb enough into her body, and so she was becoming deficient. So you have to be really careful with nutrients. Your intestines have to work, or nothing else works. So how do you get the intestines to work? Do you have to take, the enzymes, the healthy gut support? Do you have to eat certain foods? No, it's really simple. Just leave space for your intestines, your stomach, everything to reset and clean up and clean out and cleanse and detox. They need space. So when your stomach is empty, you hear the gurgling inside. You know what that gurgling is? Well, it's actually the gas makes the noise, but it's because your intestines are putting in gallons of fluid and washing out and washing and washing and cleaning and cleansing, so much so that your intestines are cleaner than your hands after you use that antibacterial soap to prevent COVID-19. Your small intestine is so clean, it's pretty close to sterile, what we would call sterile outside of here. And so, like, a surgeon washing his hands, that's how clean your small intestine, and there's like no bacteria there at all. There's no competition from bacteria for absorption of nutrients. You get all those. The bacteria are all flushed down into the large intestine, where they grow and they have their colonies, and they help to digest and break down certain types of foods that we can't. So what does that tell you? Leave space, let it gurgle, let your stomach go gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. That's the cleaning out part. That's okay. You need an empty stomach. So between meals, have an empty stomach, no snacks, eat your meal, let some space, like 4 or 5 hours, let your stomach get empty to reset and clean out, and then eat another meal, leave 4 or 5 hours for your stomach to get empty, to reset, and then eat another meal. Or if you eat 2 meals a day, that's even better. And then go, all night long till the morning, with an empty stomach. The empty stomach is how the intestines clean out. And think of it this way. I told you about the magnesium, right? The woman that had too much magnesium. What happens if she just takes a couple of days a week off and doesn't have any magnesium for a couple of days a week? Well, those receptors upregulate, and then she's able to start absorbing magnesium again, or better. So that's true with all nutrients. You should not eat the same thing every day. You should not take the same vitamins every day. Anything you do constantly or continuously is going to cause a problem. So why do people get like celiac disease? Celiac disease is a gluten intolerance. The reason is because we get gluten in everything all the time. And if you're not digesting it well, for a lot of reasons about not getting enough enzymes and stomach acid, because you're eating all the time constantly and you never get the reset, the stomach never gets a chance to reset, then the gluten isn't digested well. It's a difficult protein to digest, and it goes into the small intestine and creates a little reaction. Well, if that happens once, no big deal. If it happens twice, no big deal. But what if it happens every day, all day long? Every food you eat has gluten in it, and you're not digesting it, and it's going in and creating a little reaction, more and more and more and more and more and more. Over a period of years, now you have this full-on celiac disease, which is the gluten intolerance that causes the breakdown of your intestines where you can't absorb the food. So how do you avoid that? Well, just avoid gluten really is for that specific thing, but look at other things too. What if you eat kale every day? I had a nutritionist working in my office, Debbie. She was great, and she was a super smart nutritionist. She got toxic on kale. She ate kale with every meal. When she found out that kale had the highest nutrient to calorie ratio of any food on earth, she's like, dude, kale's awesome. I'm eating kale all the time. And she did. And she got toxic, and she started getting cramps in her muscles. And because it has oxalic acid that binds her minerals, she couldn't absorb minerals from all the kale in all her food. So even though kale is wonderful, you can get toxic. Eating the same thing every day, not a good idea. So changing to different, having a variety of foods, leaving space where you have an empty stomach periodically throughout the day and all night long. All of that is really important for good, healthy digestion.
That's great. So does like a digestive enzyme help to empty the stomach any faster? If you eat your meal and then you take it with a healthy gut support, does that help in that regard, or how does that help?
So when people are eating constantly, when the first time they eat, they get a lot of stomach acid, but then they're eating again, so they get a little bit more and then a little bit more, and never gets to reset all the way down to normal. So they have a low stomach acid and low enzyme levels. And so they're not digesting their food properly because they don't have space for the stomach to reset. So people take healthy gut support because it builds up, it gives them more enzymes, and they can actually break everything down, and then it's digestible. And it's not going to be going whole into the small intestine and creating a reaction. So what the healthy gut support does is gives them a chance to start digesting while they're resetting their system.
Okay, good. We had Sandra chime in and say, hello from Ontario, Canada. It's getting cold here, and I'm jealous of Dr. Saunders. So I'm with you there, Sandra. She said the healthy gut support has helped me tremendously. No more constipation for days on end, and I have better bowel movements, or I have bowel movements daily, and I feel much better. So that's great to hear, Sandra.
That's good. And there's not just the enzymes, but there's a probiotic, which is the bacteria that we all need. It used to be when people ate food, all food had bacteria in it. But now we sterilize food, we ultra pasteurize food and pasteurize it. We overcook it. Everything we do to our food is to prevent the bacteria from growing. But we need the bacteria. So now we don't get any bacteria in our food. And sure, that's great. You don't get food poisoning, you don't get bad bacteria, but you also don't get good bacteria. So there's got to be some way we can get that bacteria without growing bad bacteria. You don't want salmonella growing in your food, but you do want lactobacillus growing in your food. So that's where we have pills, for I don't see pills as the best option, but even like sauerkraut is bottled and canned and it's all sterile. There's no bacteria in it left. And yogurt, you think you're getting bacteria, and they actually pasteurize the yogurt, and then when they bottle it, they put a little bit of bacteria on the top, just to say with active cultures. That they add the active cultures in there because they won't get the shelf life for the yogurt if they leave the bacteria in there. Just the way it is. So if you make your own yogurt, it's great. If you make your own kombucha, it's great. If you make your own sauerkraut, it's great. Or you buy the raw stuff, that's okay too. But the stuff that's pasteurized and bottled and canned and all that stuff, you don't get bacteria. So you have to take a pill. And the other thing that the healthy gut support had is the prebiotics, which is the food for the bacteria so it can grow. And so that combination actually works really well.
So you mentioned some fermented foods there, and we had a question came in earlier from Martha. So can you, she said, what about fermented foods such as kimchi, kefir, wheys, and curds? Are they okay?
Oh, they're wonderful. Cheeses, kimchi, curd, yeah, all that stuff. That's all awesome stuff as long as it's not been pasteurized after it's made and all the bacteria are killed off. As soon as they bottle it or can it or preserve it in some way, what's the preservative? It kills the bacteria. So yeah, it's great as long as you get the raw stuff.
Yeah, good. We had a question from Anne. How much magnesium do we need to take daily? And I think someone else asked about calcium. So how much magnesium and calcium?
Okay, awesome. So I just finished an article, and it'll come out in Home Cures That Work. So those of you who have the membership or the Home Cures That Work, you'll have a full-on article all about magnesium, where it comes from, what it is, how you get it, how to get it from food, and all of that. So as far as supplements go, the studies have shown you can absorb between 350 to 400 milligrams a day. And the studies show that you need about 350 to 400 milligrams a day. So if you miss a day of magnesium, guess what? You can't make it up. You can't take 800 the next day because you won't absorb it all. That's where the problem comes in with magnesium. So you really do need a daily amount of magnesium. And so I explained in the article about how staple foods, the staple foods is what you live on every day. So we always, in America, it's like meat and, white flour and white rice and all that.
but none of that is really high in magnesium. Anything that is a seed that will grow. So a whole grain is a seed that will grow. A bean is a seed that will grow. A nut is a seed that will grow. Though anything that will grow is full of magnesium. And anything green, the chlorophyll in plants is green because of the magnesium in it. So the darker the green, the more magnesium it has. So kale has a lot more magnesium than iceberg lettuce, for example. Iceberg lettuce has very little magnesium in it, as does like celery or white asparagus. If you're going to get asparagus, get the dark green stuff instead of the white stuff, right? It looks different.
Yeah.
So that's the diet. And the supplement, you can try about 400 milligrams a day is a decent supplement. And that may add on to what you're eating and give you plenty of magnesium. As a rule, that should be in the range of enough. So calcium was your other question.
Oh, yeah.
How much calcium? So people that have problems with magnesium, like if you take magnesium orally with calcium, you're going to absorb the calcium because usually there's like a gram of calcium to 250 milligrams of magnesium. So the calcium is going to overwhelm the magnesium. So it's a good idea to take it separately. If you're going to take magnesium, take it on a different time than calcium. And then the amount of calcium would be in the range of about 1 gram a day-ish. So it's 500 milligrams, 750, or 1,000 milligrams, somewhere in there. I usually don't recommend adding calcium in because foods are full of calcium. So if you're getting vitamin D and vitamin K, which is found in CinnaChroma, then you're going to get enough calcium, and the calcium is going to be able to be put into your bones. Because people who take extra calcium, very often, if they can't put it into their bones, it starts getting attached to their blood vessels, and they get hardening of the arteries and cholesterol deposits because they're taking extra calcium. And they need the vitamin K to be able to put that in the bone. So that's why we made it that way in the CinnaChroma with the vitamin D and the vitamin K.
Yeah. Shameless plug for Easy Relief Magnesium Spray as well. So this is the product this is a product that I've been using for many years, and then a friend of mine that manufactures it let us basically private label the same stuff. So what this does, you spray it on your skin, and it's absorbed transdermally, and each spray has 22 milligrams of magnesium chloride hexahydrate. And so what I like about it is, well, you don't have to take a pill, but two, like it absorbs, the body only takes in what it needs. And so I spray 10 to 20 sprays a day. You can take more if you want, but that sounds about right in line with what you were saying.
Yeah. 10 to 20 gives you right about the right amount.
Yeah, and this is a great product. It doesn't leave a filmy residue like most magnesium other sprays do. This is bonded with water, and
it's just plain water and magnesium chloride.
Yeah.
So it's just a salt. It's a magnesium chloride salt.
Yep. Yeah, and I wanted to mention too, so we've got a sale going on. I put this in the chat, and it's up above a little bit, but if you're interested in getting CinnaChroma and Healthy Gut, we're giving away 2 free bottles of Healthy Gut Support when you buy 3 bottles of CinnaChroma. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or 5 with 2, or whatever you want to say there. But the link is in the chat, and if you want to save an additional 25%, you can use the special VIP coupon code, which is webinar25. And that is just for you special people that watch us, join us live on our webinars. So check out the link there. We also sent an email about it as well. It's called I don't even remember what it's called, but it talks about it's the Thanksgiving sale. So that's our special this week. And so let's, Leslie, I think people are wondering if you're here today. And I was kind of taken over a bit because you were a little under the weather today, but let's get your smiling face on camera here and get some more of these questions answered.
All right. I was going to post this on Facebook really quick for those of you who are joining on Facebook so you can get this same discount here. 1 second. We go to the Q&A. If you haven't asked your questions, guys, please go ahead and do that. Sorry, I'm all over the place in the background here. Okay, here is a question from Kathleen Wiley. What about drinking water after 6 o'clock? I hear all the time that we need water. Will water ruin the reset?
And no, not really. Water empties out of the stomach very quickly, so it doesn't have any calories, and it's absorbed, empties out of the stomach really quickly. So water's not going to be a problem with your reset. If you drink a whole lot of water, I don't know. It probably won't be an issue at all. I don't know of any research on it, but I do know the empty stomach is the key, and so. And since water empties out very quickly, it's not going to be a problem.
All right. Let's see. Maureen is asking, does 1 a day plus iron do anything for the body?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're deficient in any kinds of nutrients that are in that, then yeah. You know what? There's nothing wrong with vitamins at all. In fact, since the discovery of vitamins, it's life has been so much better. You know, doctors before the early 1900s, doctors commonly saw nutrient deficiencies as the main source of health problems. You know, if you've ever heard of scurvy and beriberi and kwashiorkor and rickets, those were like common problems. People had issues with nutrients, and because we have vitamin pills, we don't have those issues. And anemia, hardly anybody has anemia because you can get the iron in your pills now. So the 1 a day with vitamins. Now just to say that the vitamin 1 a day is for marketing. It's to say, oh, take this every day. That's a marketing thing. That's not a health thing. It's healthier actually to take days off, or to take it for a week and then don't take it for a week. But about 3 days off is a good amount of time to allow a reset of your absorption abilities, so then you can start taking it again. So 3 days on, 3 days off, 5 days on, 3 days off, whatever. Just to say that the study with magnesium said it took within 90 days. Within 90 days, there were the people that took the magnesium only got 30% of the absorption that they initially started with. So they were only absorbing 30%, but that took 3 months of taking it every day. So that kind of gives you an idea that it's not like a set, like you're absorbing it and boom, you're not absorbing it anymore. That's not the way it works. It's like, gradual decline. So then if it's gradually declining and then you take 3 days off and it goes back up, and then it's gradually declining and then it goes back up. So taking 3 days off, good idea.
Okay, Patrick is on. Welcome back, Patrick. He is asking, is it okay to take CinnaChroma daily then?
Okay, so remember the idea of it took 90 days to get down to that 30% absorption. So that's why we recommend that at least for 60 days, you take it 1 or 2 every day. And then after that, you take it more intermittently. And that's kind of discussed in the I think on the label, right, Joe? Didn't they label it with that? No.
That's Nervala. Yeah.
Oh, that was Nervala. Yeah,
Yep.
Nervala. We relabeled the Nervala to give that idea. The CinnaChroma, the cinnamon will keep working, and the vitamin D you can take every day. It's a fat soluble vitamin, so that's not an issue either. The only issue may be with the minerals. But again, 90 days, and then 3 days off, and then you're good. So whatever.
Okay. Patrick is also asking, are pomegranates overall a healthy snack choice for a type 2 person?
They're wonderful. Pomegranates. Okay, so we're talking about healthy gut. Let me tell you a story. I had a woman from Australia who had Crohn's disease really bad. She'd had 4 different surgeries to remove parts of her intestines, colon and small intestine. She had a bag for a long time. It was a colostomy bag, and she was really miserable a lot, and it didn't help. And she still had Crohn's disease, and she had all kinds of intestinal problems. And then one day she ate a pomegranate, and she didn't have any pain. The next day she ate another pomegranate, and she still didn't have any pain. No diarrhea, no pain. And this is somebody that already has short gut syndrome, right? This is like she's already got a lot of problems over many years. And she found out that as long as she ate 1 pomegranate a day, she didn't have any intestinal problems. It like went away. So then the stores ran out of pomegranates because they came out of season. So there weren't any pomegranates. So she said, well, I'll just drink the pomegranate juice. It didn't work. She had to have fresh pomegranates. And so she was miserable for a long time until she could stock up on pomegranates and freeze some. And then now you can get pomegranate seeds. So I've tried that with other people, and my gosh, people with a lot of inflammation in their intestines, pomegranates are awesome. So for the diabetes, well, I wouldn't recommend living on pomegranates, but if you had half a pomegranate a day, yeah, they're okay. They're relatively low in sugar compared to other kinds of tropical fruits.
Very interesting. Okay. Anku is asking, since magnesium comes from food sources such as nuts, avocados, and greens, is it not advisable to eat more of these foods? I do.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I meant by staple foods. If your staple foods are beans and seeds and nuts and greens, then that's going to be great for your magnesium. You don't need to supplement if that's the way you eat. And whole grains, if all you eat are whole grains, when you have bread, it's whole wheat bread. When you have rice, it's brown rice. Then you're going to get magnesium. But if you don't have a staple food that is high in magnesium, then it's hard to get enough magnesium. So you think about the difference between a whole wheat bread, slice of bread, 100 grams of bread, you get about 80 ish milligrams of magnesium in one slice. So think about it, 4 slices of bread and you've got roughly the amount you need for the whole day. But if you get white bread instead, there's between 10 and 20 milligrams, and you got to eat like a whole loaf of bread to get the amount you need in one day. So if you don't have high magnesium foods, then you won't get enough. But yes, of course, eat greens every day, or mostly. I just told a story about kale, right? Getting toxic. But if it's not kale, then have other kinds of greens.
Mix it up. You said to mix it up, not eating the same thing every day. So
that's
mix
it.
up the greens.
That's it. Mix it up.
Okay. I lost my question. It was from Krish, I believe, asking if Greek yogurt is better than homemade yogurt.
Well, I think homemade yogurt is better. You have it right there. You make it. You eat it. The Greek yogurt mostly has active cultures. What I like about the Greek yogurt is it's mostly a whole food and not like a non-fat, whatever. It's not as processed. So yeah, I like Greek yogurt if I'm going to buy yogurt. But gosh, we used to make yogurt all the time. I haven't done it in a long time. But yeah, it's great to make. It's easy, super easy.
It also reminds me, a long time ago, I had some digestive issues. You probably remember this. I think you would recommend this specific carbohydrate diet to me at that point. And you make your own yogurt. It's a staple in that diet. And I think you get a special yogurt maker. And I believe you make the yogurt over the course of maybe even 24 hours. It cooks that long, and it's really good for you. So that might be something of interest to some of you as well. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if we have a response on this yet. Let's see. I'm not sure who this is coming from, but I take CinnaChroma once daily and Nervala twice daily. My blood sugar seems to be lower than normal. Am I doing something wrong? I think Joe had asked about it. What has your blood pressure been lately compared to before? And we don't have an answer on that yet. Oh, here we go. Just came in. My blood pressure before was 126 to 130 over 75 or 80. Now it's 105 to 115 over 70. When this happens, I feel weak.
Okay, so when you're feeling weak and the blood pressure is low, that's hypotension. It means you're not getting enough blood up to your brain. So the brain's got to have enough blood, and if there's not enough pressure, then it's not going to push it up to the brain. So getting the blood pressure up, most people who have low blood pressure have a problem with salt. So if you're not eating enough salt, not enough sodium, then you can't hold on to the blood you have. Your kidneys will get rid of the water. You can drink more water, but you're just going to get rid of it. It's not going to stick. So in order to keep your blood volume up, you need salt. You know, people who sweat a lot, like where I am right now, you sweat all the time. It's like a constant sweating. And you're always losing salt. So you have to replace that salt. You know, people who used to work in the sun and they do heavy labor, shoveling and, digging ditches or whatever people did out in the sunshine, and they were sweating a lot. They used to have salt tablets that you could buy at the pharmacy. I don't think you can find the salt tablets anymore because everybody's anti-salt. But, you know, salt is really important for keeping your blood pressure up. So the other thing is sodium is one thing. The other thing is potassium. If you don't have enough potassium, then your intracellular volume will shrink down. And then your kidneys have a problem with maintaining your salt balance. So it's very important to get enough potassium, and potassium is found in all kinds of anything natural has potassium in it. Anything. People say you have to eat bananas. Well, ounce for ounce, bananas have more potassium than most other things. But if you look at white beans, have as much potassium ounce for ounce as bananas do. So beans, essentially the same things that I told you for magnesium works for potassium as well, except for you get potassium in any kind of fruit. So apples, for example, that don't have much magnesium have a lot of potassium.
Okay, when you talk about salt, you know, we hear a lot we hear conflicting information about salt, but when you tell us that we need more salt, what kind of salt should we be eating?
Sodium chloride.
There's so many different kinds, you know.
I know. So people think like, oh, I have to have iodized salt, which is fine, but it's a tiny amount of iodine in it. And then there's the Himalayan salt, which is pink, and it's wonderful, and it's pink because it has a little bit of iron in it. A little rust in there makes it pink, and it's kind of nice. But the sea salt is pretty good too, and they're great, and they're all great, and they're fine. And there's something called real salt, and but mostly it's the sodium chloride anyway. And people who think they're going to get a significant amount of nutrients like trace minerals, for example, from the salt, it's really not an appreciable amount. It's better to get it from natural foods.
Okay, it's good. Sometimes I'll send my husband to the store and I'm like, grab some salt, and he'll get to the salt area and be like, what kind of salt am I supposed to get here?
Get the kosher stuff. That's always good.
Stuff. Get the colored stuff. That's what I usually say. Okay. All right. We have a lot of questions and we're running out of time. Let's see. Are collard greens better than kale? Yes, with butter. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Okay. Yes and no. There are certain nutrients in collard greens that are different than in kale. Kale's really good with all of the sulfur amino acids and stuff, and collard greens doesn't have that, but it has a lot of magnesium in it. But anyway, just mix it up. It's okay. It's not that one's better than another. It's that you can eat some one day and another one the other day, and you're good.
How do you feel about pomegranates maybe helping with diarrhea?
They might help. Now that depends. The purpose I think what I've found for the pomegranate is inflammation. And so there's inflammatory bowel disease, like the woman from Australia that I was telling you about. She had a lot of inflammation. And that's the other people that I tried on with the pomegranates. They had a lot of inflammation that wasn't being relieved in any other way. So like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Those seem to be helpful, whereas like irritable bowel syndrome, that may not be the issue, so it may not stop the diarrhea from that. So it depends on the cause of it.
Okay, let's see. Teresa was asking about potassium chloride. Is that good?
Oh, potassium chloride is wonderful. I don't like the taste of it, but it's fine. You know, in where was it? In Finland. In Finland, they did a study where they put a group of people on potassium chloride versus the sodium chloride, and the ones on the potassium chloride did a lot better. Their blood pressure was down. They had less heart disease risks than people eating the sodium chloride in their foods. So yeah, it does taste salty, but it has kind of a funny taste. Or if you've ever had like Epsom salts of magnesium, no, that's magnesium sulfate. Magnesium chloride has another. It's salty, but it's kind of a funny salt taste. It's different, and I don't know.
Okay.
Let's do one more question, Leslie, and then we'll let Dr. Saunders get back to his family vacation there. So, really appreciate you taking time to do that.
Yeah, I got a lot to do today, right? I'm really busy.
Joe, do you have a question you want to?
Let's see. Well, I didn't necessarily. Okay. So
all right. Let's do this. Anku, this is a good question, and this may help some others too. So, Dr. Saunders, I just heard news of my cousin, a cousin of mine who is diabetic. He takes 1,000 milligrams of metformin a day. I'm introducing her to the diabetic reversal kit. Any more advice for her?
Okay, the 1,000 milligrams of metformin a day will help keep the blood sugar stable and a little lower, but it won't make her hypoglycemic. So she won't get too low blood sugar if she goes on the diabetes solution kit. So she can totally stay on the metformin, do the diabetes solution kit, and then at some point when her blood sugar levels are normal, she can go to her doctor and say, look, my blood sugar levels are normal. Can I stop the metformin? And so depending on what the tests show, the doctor will say, yeah, your hemoglobin A1C is 5.5, whatever. Yeah, we can go off the metformin. Then working that way is a much better way than just stopping the drugs all at once, and then starting a solution kit. So my advice would be just start the phase 1 of the program and go from there.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, that's a wrap, everybody. And I just wanted to say, if you want to see any of our previous webinars, just go to our YouTube channel, and that is linked from bartonwebinar.com, or you can go to YouTube and just search for Barton Publishing, or excuse me, Barton Webinars. And once you're there, you'll see that we've had, close, I think we're over 70, I don't know, somewhere around 70 different episodes. And if you go to our channel, there's a little search button. And if you have any questions specific, that you didn't get answered or whatever, type it in. Like if you type in metformin in there, you can see all the different webinars where we've talked about that. And so that's a good way to get more of your questions answered. And other than that, thanks for joining us today. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving if you're celebrating that in the U.S. here this week. Have a safe and blessed time. And it's been great to be with you again. And Dr. Saunders, if you could close us out with final thoughts, we'll call it a day.
Okay. So in the basics, the basic program is really just detoxifying. But I wanted to mention that before, that if you have type 2, then you're toxic on sugar. And by sugar, I don't necessarily mean that the sweet stuff, because it could be starch too. Starch turns into sugar in your body. So that toxicity is what type 2 diabetes is. So when you detoxify, that's phase 1. So just remember that when you're starting phase 1, you go, oh, this is my detox. This is how I cleanse out all the toxins that I've accumulated over the years.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Good stuff. Dr. Saunders, thanks for taking an hour out of your vacation to join us. Say hello to your beautiful family for us, and go kite surfing or something.
All right. Right, we're going. We actually have a catamaran. We're taking it out.
Awesome. All right. We'll have a blast. All right.
Okay. will
Happy
do.
Thanksgiving.